So if you want to live rent-free in somebody's head, have a signature scent. Here's the science. Smell bypasses the brain's rational filter. It goes straight to the amygdala and hippocampus, basically the brain's emotion and memory centers. A unique signature scent creates feeling, and feeling creates memory. If you wear the same scent consistently, you're not just smelling good, you're wiring a feeling to your presence. And in a sense, whether people know it or not, you are becoming unforgettable in their mind. In today's video, I'm talking about how to be remembered without even having to say a word. Now, the next tip to create a strong impression is to master eye contact. And because I know the demographics of my audience, I assume the majority of you guys out there are men. So these numbers work for you. The ladies probably a little bit different, but when a man is engaged in conversation with another man, eye contact when you're listening should be at about 60 to 70%. When you're speaking with another man, eye contact a little bit lower, 40 to 50%. So with guys, what this signals is calm authority. Too much eye contact can come off as pushy or that you're trying to assert dominance. Now with women, when you're listening, you want those numbers to go up a bit, about 70 to 80%. But when you're speaking, they're going to go down a bit, 30 to 40%. In fact, studies show whenever a man's having a conversation with a woman, he should break eye contact first, because eye contact that lands, then releases, this is going to create a bit of intrigue, and it's going to usually draw her in more to the conversation. Now, of course, all of this is cultural and situation dependent. And so practice, test, and adjust, and find what works for you. And remember, when speaking to an audience, making eye contact for a few seconds and then moving on, but being consistent, being steady, in a sense, slow-wise, not darting all over the place, is going to be the signal of confidence. Now guys, really quick, a lot of guys make a mistake. They think that just watching a video like this on YouTube is somehow going to make them an expert. Straight up, gents, you have to take this information and put it into action. And one of the best ways to motivate yourself to take action is to put yourself in a community, in a group of like-minded warriors, taking steps to improve their image, their presence, their presentation, and you can find all of that over at our community at school.com/RMRS. Over in our school community, we've got detailed classes, we host challenges, and you can meet and engage with like-minded men taking steps on a daily basis to become their best self. So gents, instead of saying someday, how about you say day one and join our community? I'm putting the link down in the description, in the comments, or you can just go directly to school.com/RMRS. So the next way to be remembered without saying a word is to establish quiet authority by dressing one level above everyone else in the room. And understand, I'm not saying you got to be a fashionista. You just need to be one step above your peers. So if you work on an oil rig, you just simply keep an extra spare set of clean clothing in your locker, and when the big bosses from corporate show up, well, you just go in and shower and put on a little bit nicer clothing than everyone else wearing their stained jeans and frayed shirts. Because let's face it, guys, the bar is set pretty darn low. So you're just looking to look good. Because when a man looks good, he feels good. Whenever a man feels good, he comes off as more competent, more trustworthy. He's basically the default leader when somebody who doesn't know the crew looks around and says, okay, this guy is wearing a sports jacket. Everyone else is just wearing a dress shirt, maybe with a tie. This guy looks like the man in charge, and you may not be the man in charge. But you know what? That's not a bad thing for people to assume unless you've got a boss that's got an out-of-control ego. And in that case, just do a quick search on our channel or join our community, because we can talk about how to overcome that, because that's a whole separate issue, but one that is manageable. Because the reality is, gents, even if you wear a uniform, and I remember this in the United States Marine Corps, we all had the same clothing. It was pretty much issued to us, but you could always tell someone that was a locked-on Marine versus someone that was a shipper because of the way that their clothing fit. Did they shine their boots? Did they blouse their boots properly? Did they iron their clothing when they were in garrison? Because you can bet the guy that paid attention to those small details was the same guy as soon as you would get back from being in the field for 5 days. Well, he would make sure that everything was clean, that his rifle had no rust on it, and that everything was working properly before he went home for some well-earned R&R. Because although the average person thinks that they can get away with not paying attention to those small details, the reality is those that are prepared, those guys that are ready for the to hit the fan at any moment, they're the ones that I want to have next to me, the ones that have my back, the ones that I'm serving next to. So send that signal to your boss's boss that you are ready for advancement, that you are ready for more responsibility, that you're the kind of guy that pays attention to the small things. Now, this next one's going to make sense to anyone that plays poker, and that is when it comes to your emotions, you want to maintain emotional non-reactivity. Let's face it, in relationships, both personal and business, things can get emotional, and they get emotional fast. So getting back to the poker analogy, are you somebody that everybody can read, that they can tell when something's bothering you? Are you the kind of person that speaks your mind right off with no filter? You know what I'm talking about. You're always trying to one-up others. You're always throwing out that passive-aggressive comment. Guys, if that's you, you really are shooting yourself in the foot. Basically, other people can read you. And if people can read your emotions, they can predict what you're going to do. And in many ways, they can control you because they know if they poke, prod, if they say something, that you are going to be predictable in your reaction. Versus the guy that doesn't share his cards. The guy, yeah, it bothers him what was just said, but he doesn't show it. He's calm. He's collected. His response, if there's any, is measured, because a man that controls his emotions sends a signal of self-trust, experience, and quiet strength. Now, this next one, a lot of people think it's hard to pull off, especially when you don't think you're in a power situation, and that is to be the person that exits first. So first up, let's address the workplace. I get it. Not everyone is the boss. Not everyone is the owner of the business. So in that case, when you find yourself in a meeting and you realize, you know what, I got what I need out of this meeting the first 15 minutes. Initially, you may feel very, hesitant about pulling yourself out. But consider speaking with your boss or the person that's running the meeting and saying, hey, we usually cover in the first 15 minutes what I need. Are you cool with me stepping out of the meeting so I can make this a priority, knock through this, and be able to get it to you by the end of the day? In many cases, especially if your boss values productivity, they're going to be totally cool with this. And so in the next meeting, in front of all of your peers, all of a sudden you have permission to thank your boss for the information, let them know you've got what you need, and then excuse yourself from the meeting. Now, the first couple times you do this, you may want to send a note to your boss, thank them for the new setup, show what you accomplished. But make no mistake, what you're doing here is you're showing that your time is valuable and you're displaying that to those around you, and you're setting the bar of what you are going to tolerate when it comes to your time being wasted. And interestingly enough, this also applies to romantic relationships. And I'm not talking about playing games here, but I am talking about setting boundaries. Because let's say you're a 5 a.m. workout kind of guy and you're out with a beautiful woman in the evening, first date, second date, and you'd like for it to go a little bit farther, maybe even get a little bit physical. But if you can tell it's probably not going to happen tonight, or maybe you're not ready for it, well, guess what? Step out of the situation, thank her for the great evening, just explain, hey, I got to be up to hit the gym at 5 a.m. and leave the engagement on a high. And guys, men have dealt with this since the beginning of time. Muhammad Ali talked about this. A reporter once asked him, what's the hardest part about training? And his response was not going out with the beautiful women to all the parties he was invited to, and being in bed at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night so he could be up early to train the next morning. And again, what I love about exit power is you can be living rent-free in her head, because she's like, wow, this guy has his stuff together. He's got his priorities, and he obviously showed me a good time, but he's not going to give up everything to be with me. This is a bit of a challenge. So in a way, maybe you are playing a game, but seriously, maintain your standards. Treat your time like gold. Of course, be authentic, and people will remember you for the standards you set for yourself. Now, what if you decide to open your mouth? Because everything I've talked about here could be nonverbal. Well, if you are going to speak, speak slower, and don't be afraid to pause before you speak. You don't have to immediately start talking. You can think a second or two. No rushing, no filling the science, and if you are using crutch words, be aware that you're using them. Consciously think about it and practice eliminating them out of your vocabulary. Another powerful way to be remembered, especially in a professional setting, is to summarize the room. Let's say you're on a Zoom call. It's kind of been going all over the place. There's a little bit of emotion here. Well, oftentimes you can come off as the de facto leader by simply summarizing what you've heard people say, and it's going to endear you to them. And especially if you're talking to a boss, or maybe you're speaking to someone who's outside the current circle, all of a sudden you've proven that you've listened, that you can simplify complexity. You make others feel understood. You show that you are the man that can bring it all together. But what if you don't agree with what's being said? Yes, you could probably be remembered as someone that just insults the other person. But instead of doing that, try what's known as strategic contradiction. This is basically where you disagree without invalidating. You build on what was said, but then you redirect. So how this works is you can say, hey, I agree with what was said, assuming that this is correct. But if this isn't correct, maybe we want to explore this. You see what we did here? We let the people we disagree with know that they were heard. In fact, we even told them we agree with them, assuming that these facts are true, but we opened up the discussion to go down a different path. And that takes us to strategic incompleteness, basically opening a loop. We've seen this again and again anytime you watch a TV series or a movie that's meant to be broken into multiple parts. What do you notice? They always open a loop at the end that we are left with a cliffhanger. Because seriously, nothing engages somebody when you start on something, you can see they're interested. You know what? We're going to have to save that for another conversation, right? And that's why I've always got, boom, another video for you guys to dive into, because you enjoyed this one. You want to be able to, talk, present yourself, be able to own the room, come off as more competent, more professional. Guys, I got you covered. Boom, in this video right here. See how I did that?